Hey Sean, sorry about the mix up there, brother. Hope you're
Were
doing
you? No,
well.
no, no. I'm sorry. Dude, I feel terrible. I missed it on Friday.
We're good,
So
brother. We're good. All good,
good
man.
timing now. Yeah, no, very good. And I've got to go to New York tomorrow. So
Nice.
timing is
Fucking right.
perfect.
I'll bug you to
I
go sideways if you can, just so I get that full screen on my end for the recordings.
absolutely. Let's see if
Appreciate it,
that's
brother. This
how's
is
that.
oh,
I'll
pardon
get the
me?
BK through there too. There we go. Get the microphone out of here. Get
Thanks,
this.
man.
Is that pretty good frame?
I think you might have screen lock on. It's not letting me get that
Oh,
full.
sorry. Hold on.
That's okay, brother. That's all good.
Let's see. Auto rotate. Let's see.
Thanks again for the time, my man. Really do appreciate it.
Man, absolutely. Yeah, no, no. Thank you for having me again. I'm so sorry on Friday. I'm
Oh,
just
dude.
traveling and all that stuff going
No,
on. So
I know exactly how it is, man. Events come and go, and it's quite the schedule in the fight business,
yeah,
that's for sure. So,
fight
this
life.
is fucking exciting time. I mean, it has already been an exciting time for BKFC. I would say in general, there is a global resurgence for combat sports all
Yeah,
around. We almost feel like we're entering a new golden age, it seems, with all the different promoters, promotions, everyone biting at each other in a sense to put on the best shows. It seems like BKFC, it doesn't even fucking matter if UFC is happening. They're gonna fucking sell out. They're gonna put on incredible events. The fan base has grown. For you from Kansas to where you are now, from all the events that you've worked at, what has this been like for you to see this promotion grow so fucking well?
yeah. It's extremely rewarding. I first started talking to David Feldman in the late spring of 2016. He hired me as a consultant in July of 2016. So I was with him almost 2 full years before BKFC won. And I knew that this could be the next big thing in combat sports. Honestly, my only surprise is that more companies aren't doing this. I
Yeah.
look and I'm baffled at why people are still trying to throw their money into being the next big thing in MMA rather than trying to challenge us. And I'm very, very happy about that. But that's truly my only surprise. I knew this would explode. I knew we would get high level fighters. I knew the fans would love it. I believed in David Feldman from the first time that I talked to him. And this is all coming to fruition. I think people who have only followed us a couple of years feel like this has literally come out of nowhere. But
Hmm.
again, I'm there almost 2 full years before the first show. I think about 2018, 2019 combined, we did 9 shows. Last year,
Yeah.
we did 31 shows in 8 countries. And so it's incredible and it's incredibly rewarding. And being from Kansas, I'm not allowed to feel smug, but there's almost that smug feeling of, man, I knew this was going to hit. And I'm proud of myself that I won't allow myself to be smug. I'll allow myself to be proud of myself that I believed in David Feldman. I saw his vision. I bought into it, and I see where we are. I believe we're number 2 in the combat sports world. And yeah, I have a UFC one poster behind me along with my BKFC one poster. You're wearing a Fight Pass shirt. I think the UFC is great. I love the UFC. I am the hardest of hardcore UFC fans. I have a lot of friends who fight there, a lot of friends who work there, including in UFC Fight Pass. There's room at the top. Somebody
Oh,
told me
for
one
sure.
time, success isn't like pie in the refrigerator. If you have a piece, it doesn't mean there's less for everybody else. Success can be infinite, and the UFC can continue to be dominant, and we can continue to be dominant in our space. And I really believe be the second biggest promotion in the combat sports world.
Yeah, on the come up, it was more of a fringe sport, and now it's become mainstream. And now you guys are building your own stars. Conor McGregor, obviously, a big part
Yeah,
in getting fans as well, and having that just that face value to the brand as well, but also utilizing, right? Like when he first joined, we're like, oh, how this is interesting. How is this going to go?
yeah,
Since then, his involvement has been paramount for being a promoter, for obviously gaining eyes, gaining traction. And then you have guys like El Zombo coming in who are have these storylines. These characters we get, they have these own storylines, and that's where we really get to care about the fighters. And these bare knuckle fighters, man, like you guys got people that have competed in King of the Streets, that underground
yeah,
European bare knuckle shit, right? And the where these guys come to where they get to, it's fucking beautiful. And even look at Arlovsky, right, with this big title
right.
win. beating cancer that many times, coming up against the king of heavyweight bare knuckle, really, in Ben Rothwell. He's been an absolute domination in those fights. Um, Mick Terrell, the Juggernaut. I'd really like to see those two run it back. And yeah, like it's been really because I've my first I started this in 2023. I'm fresh to the
Right.
game, involved with World Boxing Council and some shit with promoting and all that, not just doing interviews and stuff. So that's been well. But my first couple of interviews were Jake Bostwick, and
Yeah.
the Honey Badger right after war that went to a tie.
Isaac Little. Oh, that's
Christine
when he came
Faria.
on Sunday. Isaac's
Yeah,
coming on.
yeah. Like it's been something I've been kind of watching from the background, but trying to get myself involved in with folks that I can and chat with as well. And I've had Ben Rothwell on and all that, and it's it's been really fun because you have the posts that are like, oh, there's no UFC this weekend. It's like, yeah, but there's fucking bare knuckle.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm a fight fan. I love fighting sports. I love combat sports. I'm someone who's watching boxing. I'm watching MMA. I'm not just
Yeah,
watching the UFC. I'm watching shows on Fight Pass.
yeah.
Of course, with BKFC, that has become such a massive part of my life. But I'm a fight fan. I want to work in combat sports. I want to commentate combat sports. I always laugh when you see commentators in combat sports say, I love this, but I'd really like to do Monday Night Football, or I really wish I could do the Final Four. Not me, man. I'm doing exactly what I want to do. This is all I want to do is commentate fights.
When you're doing Knucklemania, it feels like the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's crazy and it's great moments. Going like it's cool. You look at Gable Steveson, who's been fighting in the different promotions. I'd love to fucking see him
I
at
just watched
heavyweight.
this fight online. I watched it live. That's what a hardcore I am. I watched it live on YouTube. His fight from Mexico.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
in the hotel room and I watched it in my hotel room on
He's
YouTube on my
he's been
laptop.
making the rounds. I could see him doing BK because he did dirty boxing, right? So I
Sure.
mean, get him in there. For yourself, for folks that aren't too familiar, who are
Jet,
some of like your maybe two or three that we have to keep an eye on right now on their come up?
in terms of people who are signed with this or people we would look at?
I would say just people that you were signed with. Like for me, I would say Drew Stuve. Like that was a BKFC
Yeah.
guy that was signed up in Canada from the Edmonton show, right?
Oh, yeah.
Out of Wolf House, YEG, great boxers out of there. For
It's Duty.
yourself, who are a couple that are like, these are title contenders in the next year?
Yeah, Drew, who you mentioned, is someone like that. The person he just fought and he beat, Zeb Vincent, is
Yep.
such a talented
Yes.
fighter, someone known since the Emmys in Kansas City. Here's what I'll tell you. I love well. Let me give you a name that's a big name is Jamel Herring. Jamel Herring coming
Hmm.
in against Matt Guyman, another Kansas guy like myself, who I've known since the Emmys, and Jamel Herring was fantastic because there are two types of boxers who come to BKFC. They're the type like Austin Trout who adapt their strengths and they keep an open mind and they're dominant. And then there are the type who come in and think, well, this is just boxing without gloves, and they learn the hard way. And they usually fight
Yeah.
once or twice at the most. And Jamel Herring is in that Austin Trout camp. In fact, in our fighter meeting with Lytle and me, as we do with every single fighter on every single fight on BKFC, sit down. This is 2 days before the show. Talk 15 to 20 minutes without cameras, just getting a sense of how they fight. You hear me reference that on the broadcast constantly. And Jamel talked about studying Austin Trout, talking to Austin Trout, seeing what they did. So Jamel Herring, even though he's an established superstar and a world champion and an Olympian in boxing, is someone to watch. And as you mentioned, somebody like Drew Stuvey who comes through. What I love, what we're doing, is that there's room for Andrei Arlovsky and there's room for Kai Stewart. There's room for Hannah Rankin and there's room for Christine Faria. And that's what you have to do. I have
Hmm.
the UFC 1 poster behind me because that was created by Art Davey, who I lovingly refer to as my later in life father.
Hmm.
And Art Davey understood that. You have to develop your own stars. It's cool to bring somebody in, but you have to develop your own stars. We're developing our own stars, and the people who we bring in are enhancing the roster. I don't feel like we
Exactly.
ever gimmick anybody when we come in. If they come in, they're legitimate. Andrei Arlovsky's 47 years old, one
Hmm.
of the greatest heavyweights in MMA history. And again, a lot of people thought Ben Rothwell was unbeatable, and he won. There's no gimmick there. Arlovsky is an amazing person. He's an amazing fighter, and he beat another amazing person, an amazing fighter in Ben Rothwell. And then you go to someone like Kai Stewart, who's 1-0 in pro MMA, wrestled NAI Division One. You look at Andrew Strode, our 125 interim champion, who was in U.S. Olympic boxing trials and is 28 years old. So we have these amazing fighters from these different backgrounds. Some are well known, some are superstars, some are complete unknowns. And you mentioned El Zombo, Leonardo Perdomo. Think about Perdomo's story. This
Yeah.
is somebody who was on the Cuban Olympic boxing team, possibly could have been in the Olympics, chooses to leave Cuba, start a new life in the United States. He comes to an open tryout. He's identified by Chris Lytle, and he looks like possibly the next great thing in not just bare knuckle, but in the combat sports world. And that's a phenomenal story. So you need all of the above, I think. As Art Davie said, you have to create your own stars. You have to import stars. You have to find those mid-level people who maybe were known regionally or just for whatever reason weren't getting a promotional push or success or had some difficult losses. And then they break out and they become major stars.
Hmm. It's you have cops versus crooks, for example, right?
That's
Like
right.
McGregor was saying. You got Australian biker gang guys that are you have these people from all walks of life, and like you said, world boxing champions that are
Yeah.
coming into this ring, and it is really cool. Seeing Buakaw and Sanchai a little while ago, it's throwing that back. Like, is Nick involved still? Is BKFC Thai still running? Is that going to be something that continues?
I, Nick Chapman, who you're referring to, I love Nick Chapman.
Yeah.
I don't know is the
Okay.
honest answer. I get a schedule. I don't know. I hope
Yeah.
so. I love
Yeah.
doing those shows, but I honestly do not know the answer.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
as we've grown, we've worked with different people. We've
Of
gone to
course.
different places. Some countries we've gone to, some we haven't gone back to.
Hmm.
It just depends. But I
Yeah.
really like Nick Chapman a lot. I think he's a great guy.
Yeah. It's cool to see you're trying it out, right? Like all of a sudden I'm like, is there going to be a bare knuckle, like a BKFC constant Muay Thai league? That would be crazy.
Right.
But Muay Thai in itself is having its own kind of resurgence right now with
It is.
with one with RWS and even in
Right.
North America there's Muay Thai World Cup and Warriors Cup, all these kinds of different promotions. So yeah, it like you said with Art Davie as well, there's a gentleman here in Canada who's kind of doing the same thing in the WBC sides of things, of really
Right.
trying to enhance the sport across the nation. He's come up with the Amazing Muay Thai Festival, which just held a cross promotion festival with the WBC boxing. So they used the
Nice.
big powerhouse of boxing to kind of co-promote the WBC Muay Thai.
Nice.
So seeing these different ventures that you get the guys the spotlight that they deserve, right? Because you have folks that are in college ball per se, and they get Nike deals, they get magazine covers on their come up, but these fighters they don't quite get that yet. Do you think we're getting there?
Yeah, I mean, and certainly BKFC.
Yeah,
I think Lorenzo Hunt is a great example.
yeah,
Was 3-5 as a pro MMA fighter, and I was about to say arguably, and I think you can remove arguably best pound for pound fighter in the world.
yeah.
Lorenzo Hunt, a phenomenal fighter, a phenomenal athlete, a really really smart guy. MMA just wasn't quite right for his skill set, and he
Of
found
course.
this it is. You look at Mike Perry. Mike Perry, I'm a big Mike Perry fan, and I was from the UFC. Mike Perry was having my phone ring. Mike Perry is someone who I would say was known, but not a superstar in the UFC, and he
Yeah,
is a superstar. People,
absolutely.
even if they haven't watched BKFC, now they know Mike Perry. And if you look historically, you have to go back a long way, probably to Pride, to find somebody who left the UFC and then became a bigger star. It's not that easy to do. And it really doesn't happen now. You know, I commentated Bellator for 5.5 years. When
Hmm.
we got UFC veterans, they were usually headed in a direction that was away from the best that they had ever been.
Yeah, of
And no disrespect to them, they were just at different stages of their career as
course.
they came. Where with Mike Perry, we signed him in his 20s, and again, he was very good in the UFC, and he was known, and he had some great fights and some great wins. But he's a superstar now.
Yeah.
He's so many people ask me, well, Mike Perry's your champion, right? I have to correct them gently and say, no, he's not our champion, but you could certainly say that he's the face of our promotion.
Oh, hands
And
down.
to be able to accomplish that in the 2020s, to take someone after they've been in the UFC and make them even bigger, I don't know that people have in the combat sports world have fully understood the impact of that. Because again, I think you would really have to go back to Pride to find somebody who left the UFC and then became a bigger star post UFC.
He backed it up. That win over MVP. Like, look at
Yeah,
Venom Page right now in the UFC. Scary as fuck. Fights anyone, right? And to go what
right.
bonus round, sixth round, and take
Yeah,
the win from that. Like, that's what solidified it to me. Is like this is the guy for BKFC. Like he'll take on anyone.
yeah.
And then the Eddie Alvarez, I believe it was Eddie Alvarez, right? That he ended up
Eddie
fighting.
Alvarez, Jeremy Stevens, Luke
Yeah,
Rockhold,
Jeremy
uh,
Stevens just recently.
Dan Lane,
Yeah,
who was our 165
Rockhold,
champion. Every Thiago Alves,
dude.
every fight that Mike Perry has had has been tough. But if you look what we do, we throw everybody in the deep end of the pool. We
Yes.
always, Lionel and I always talk about on the broadcast, there's no A side, B side.
Hmm.
Look at Austin Trout. We give him Diego Sanchez. Look
Yeah.
at Paige Van Zant. We give her Britton Hart.
Hmm.
No one is getting soft landings coming in. You have to prove yourself to David Feldman, and you have to show that you not only want to be in BKFC, but you deserve to be in BKFC. You think about some alternate universe matchmaking. Oh, Mike Perry, let's get him an 0-4 guy. No, we give him Julian Lane. That's how it works. These are really tough fights, people constantly being thrown in. His second fight is against Luke Rockhold, and then flip that. You have Luke Rockhold, who is no doubt one of the greatest 185ers in MMA history, Strikeforce champion, UFC
Hmm.
champion. No squash for Luke Rockhold, you get him Mike Perry. No squash for Mike Perry, you give him Luke Rockhold.
Exactly.
That's what I think fans have really gravitated towards, amongst a lot of other things. Just the speed of our show, the rawness of the fights, the pacing, the 5 2-minute rounds, the rule set, just how much fun it is, the look of our production, David Feldman, how great he is. But it's also, we're making tough fights.
Yeah.
I'm a huge boxing guy. I adore boxing. I know you're a big boxing guy too. What's the complaint you always hear on boxing? I turn it on and I know who's going to win. It's always A side versus B side. I defy anybody to find in 1,700 bouts now an A side B side matchup in BKFC. They just don't exist.
Fucking right. Yeah, you're not seeing 8 to 1, 10 to 1 like you
No.
regularly do throwing on a boxing show when you check the odds and you're astounded. Like, come on, why are we even making these matchups?
Exactly. Well, even look at Jamel Herring. You have an Olympian, you have a boxing major organization world champion, and we give him Matt Gaiman, who is really good.
Hmm.
And Matt Gaiman is someone who a lot of people thought was going to win that fight. And credit to Jamel Herring for taking that. Credit to Matt Gaiman. Credit to Jamel Herring for taking that fight. And really, credit to David Feldman for making that, saying, yeah, we're not going to give Jamel Herring an 0-8 guy or find someone who's terrible, who's never fought. Let's get him somebody who's fought twice in BKFC, who's really tough and really good. And again, that goes back to, I think, one of the reasons why people in the fight community are responding to us, because you're going to see these tough fights. I reference Pride. I love Pride. I was fortunate enough to have been the last English language commentator in Pride. You turn on and Mirko Krokop is fighting Kevin Randleman, and then he's fighting Fedor Emelianenko. Like, there were no easy fights. And it was more about warrior spirit and about who fought whom, not about, oh, we have to protect these records. When did Fedor Emelianenko ever have an easy opponent in Pride? It did not exist. I'll give credit to the UFC. I love the UFC, and I hope as a combat sports fan and as a boxing fan, they can really bring that ethos to Zuffa boxing. It looks like they are. But again, in boxing, and I adore boxing, please don't misconstrue this, but when you're seeing 18-0 against 25-12, but 25-12 has one win in his last 10 fights, you kind of know how that's going to go. The UFC, from Art Davie now through Dana White and Hunter Campbell, have done a phenomenal job of making these exciting fights, and I believe that we absolutely do the same thing.
There's that record for forgiveness in BKFC, right? Like you don't give a fuck. They're coming to bang, and you're gonna love them forevermore after that. With boxing, to your point there, with you see undefeated guy 12-0 against he's fighting a veteran. He's got 43 wins, 15 losses. It's like, okay, we see where this is coming.
Yeah, and those 15 losses, yeah, 14 of them were consecutive entering the fight.
The last
Yeah,
ones.
go on BoxRec and you see the arc of boxing.
Yeah.
Someone's built up, they're built up, they're built up. They get them to a regional title fight. They lose that fight. They come back, they give them a rehab fight. They get another big fight. They lose that. Now they're on the B side. Now they're a professional opponent. So you'll see these professional boxers who fought for an NABF or an NABO or a USBA or a Fecker Box title, and they have these really big records, like 42-15. But then you'll look on BoxRec and you'll see 42-15, but they're 2-12 in their last 14 fights.
Yeah.
So we know this score. They went from A side to B side. As soon as somebody, and that somebody was probably their management team or their promoter, thought this kid's not going to be a world champion, I know we'll make money out of them by sending them to Serbia to get beaten up by the next person who's going to be the world champion.
There's
And then if
always
that
they
person
always
doesn't
need that.
become, right, and then if that person doesn't become, then we'll send them to Las Vegas to get beaten up by the next world champion. And that to me is one of the really negative things about boxing right now. I've been fortunate enough to commentate those MVP on Netflix shows.
Yeah, I saw you on
And
there.
yeah, thank you. And I love the MVP ethos with Jake Paul and Akisa Badarian. They're making great fights.
Yeah.
They're not protecting Amanda Serrano.
Yeah.
They're not protecting Alicia Baumgardner. They have that, what I think is really an MMA ethos of let's find the best two fighters and let's make the best fights. Someone's going to win. Someone's going to lose, most likely. Could be draw or no contest, but realistically, you're going to have a winner and a loser. And then we move on from it. You're not doomed. I always look at like great stars, especially from the first and second wave of MMA. And then you look at their career records, and they're not that impressive
Hmm.
compared to boxers. What's impressive is who they fought and where they fought. I feel like boxing has this record obsession where MMA and now thankfully bare knuckle, our obsession is who did you fight? It's an
Yes.
opponent obsession. You're not going to win every fight. You're just
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. Look at Yuri Prohaska, generationally loved, lost a couple, still loved, right? But there is
Look,
that fine line where, and this is to the fans, where you hear the term "washed." They lose one fight. Look at Alexander Volkanovski, pound for
right.
pound, greatest MMA fighter in his time. Loses,
Yeah.
he's done. Everyone wrote him off just like that when he was at his actual height of his
Right.
his skill. And after that and his comeback and the win, it almost feels like the fans are becoming a little bit more forgiving with that. They're understanding, like, listen, you can lose and come back from this and still be respected. You're not washed. Like
Yeah,
that's the
I
hard
think
thing to
so.
wash.
I think Jim Miller is a great example of that. I think my
Yes.
buddy Anthony Smith is a great example of that. They're really fun fighters.
Yes, sir.
And Michael Chandler, like great examples of that. The Diaz brothers,
Yeah.
like they're going to be entertaining. You're not going to win every single fight. And what you want to see are entertaining fights against great opponents. I will give the UFC credit. Ever since Art Davey owned it from UFC 1, they've been unwavering in making the best matchups and not record protecting anybody.
Hmm.
They got Brock Lesnar beaten in his second fight. It happens.
Hmm.
He got submitted by Frank Mir, and they gave him Heath Herring in his first fight, who a lot of people, including myself, thought would probably win that. So I think they've always done a great job of that, and I know that we always, as BKFC, we do a great job of that.
When these guys get their titles, you can see that emotion coming out that this is a world championship that means something. This is a world title. This is the pinnacle of where I'm at. Has there ever been a talk about a BKFC versus BYB at all ever?
I know, and it's the same reason why you don't hear about. Well, let's do UFC versus PFL. I guess when Don Davis was running
For
PFL, he
sure.
said that you have to look at what would really be the upside,
Yeah,
and it just those types of things they're just not practical.
for sure.
And realistically, there's no upside for BKFC and there's no upside for BYB, BKB. And I understand that. I don't
Mhm.
know why the promotion would want to do it. I understand, like, when I was in Bellator in the Bjorn Rebney days 14, 15 years ago, oh, we would be great, do that with the UFC.
They,
course,
yeah,
because we're trying to get our name out there,
they
and
needed it.
if when one of the six fights will say, "See, I told you, we're just as good." I, to my knowledge, there never has, and I would seriously doubt there's ever been any discussion on that whatsoever. But they have a lot of our former fighters on their roster, and we have a lot of their former fighters on our roster. It's just the nature of the business on the flowing through.
Did you end up catching the Helwani documentary that he made when he came to
Oh
the
yeah,
event there? That was
I
great.
did. It was great. It was
Yeah,
great. And I'm happy. I'm writing some as I like to call them fight nerd stuff, some sports fight history stuff for Ariel's website Uncrowned. And
nice.
Ariel's obviously somebody who I knew and I knew who he was and I really admired and respected. But we never actually met until we were both on the Netflix broadcast for Mike Tyson, Jake Paul.
Okay.
And I thought we would hit it off. When we hit it off, we actually met at the big Netflix dinner, which was 3 days before the show. And I thought, I'm just laughing. Normally, my cats come in my
Oh,
shot, so I
dude,
didn't know
yeah.
that was a cat person
I
too.
can't. I have my dog
And,
right here on my lap too, which is
awesome.
hilarious. Yeah.
And no, we're big animal people too. And so I met Ariel, we hit it off, and now like he's having me write the fight nerd stuff, the sports history, fight history articles for him, and I've watched his documentaries. He did one also in Uncrowned Films on the refs and judges training seminar I did with John McCarthy and Jack Reese in January, and
Nice.
specifically to your point, yeah, the one in Newark that he shot was phenomenal. We gave
Yeah.
him unlimited access. He took full advantage of it. A lot of people like come into fight sports and they say, "Oh, I'm a journalist," but they're not. That
Hmm.
man is a journalist. If you look at his background, you look at his history. I have nothing but respect for Ariel Hawani, and he's not going to try to run anybody's agenda. He's probably he has fallen afoul of a few promoters, and he doesn't care because he's not somebody's PR agent. You and I both know this, man. Is that I think it's so muddled now with media and what media is. Sometimes I think on the athlete side or the promotion, or if we're talking team sports like the league or the organization, they want the media to be the PR director. And the reality is, you're not that. You yourself, my friend, are an independent journalist. So you can say whatever you want to say. People might get mad at you, but you're not beholden to BKFC or the UFC or the WBC or anybody else, and that makes it more authentic. So when you give a compliment, it really means something because you're right. Rightfully, you can give a criticism too when you see warranted.
It's difficult too, with that because he is the gold standard for that. I've tried to emulate, what he does as close as possible. It's hard, and there's times where I've withheld some certain posts or,
Sure.
or announcements
Yeah.
due to relationships where this could end your relationship. You may not be allowed to be back at these events, i.e., him with UFC, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's tough, and again, yeah, hats off to him for that. It's a difficult sector, especially when these things start coming out of shady business deals or gambling issues or whatever it may be, right? And you want to be that guy to kind of break the news, but also still be on good terms with the promotion. Um,
Yeah,
dude.
it's difficult. It's a fine line, and I mean, obviously, social media and the use of journalism with social media, I mean, it has made that very difficult. But I live in Kansas City. If you're covering the Kansas City Chiefs and they pull your credential, there's an appellate process. You can go to the NFL. There's a lot of different things. For promoter, whoever that promoter is, big or small or in between, doesn't want you at your fight. There's really not a lot you can do about it, and that's always a difficult situation. I tell people I'm not a journalist, man. I have a lot of admiration for what you guys do. I'm just the guy who talks about fighting on TV, but you guys are real journalists, and you guys do have those ethical quandaries, which I get. It's balancing access with,
Mhm.
wow, do I risk losing that access by telling what I know or expressing what I think?
I'll give a prime example. Sam Alvey, his last fight in Karate Combat. I thought that should have
Yeah,
been stopped. It could have been stopped very much so. I was vocal about it. President Awesome was visually not pleased with it. There's a couple other pages that we were pushing that right after it happened. He came to the defense of the official right away, saying he's world class. And you can be world class, but you can make mistakes, right? So
of course.
And it didn't seem like there was bad blood, but you could tell like, this wasn't something that wanted to be talked about, but it was, oh God, it was such a bad knockout. You could tell, yeah, they had
Yeah,
such fire behind this new guy, Robelis de España,
yeah.
or de Spain, whatever. And then yeah, that was just that was an example from my end where I had to say something. I couldn't be quiet.
No, I completely understand.
Yeah, yeah.
I do definitely appreciate you having me on, though. Thank you. I really appreciate you having me
Of
on the
course.
program.
We got UFC Heathrow, that's the next one. Are you out there for that?
The BKFC, I'm
Or
sorry, which one?
BKFC Heathrow, pardon me.
It's actually Newcastle.
Newcastle. Okay, okay.
Yep, which is the north of England near the Scottish border. So my
Perfect.
former broadcast partner, Ian the Machine Freeman, when I was at M1, he lives very near Newcastle and Stanley. I hope to see Ian the Machine Freeman there, first Englishman ever in the UFC. Has a great win over Frank Mir, and that's a great card. So we fire back up with that. We've only had 2 shows this year, which is light for us, but
Yep.
they've been 2 huge shows. Mohegan, where we had a big crowd, and then as you saw, Knucklemania, where we had the record-setting crowd. But then we're right back to business where we're running 3 and 4 shows a week. We have Newcastle coming up. You see, we're going to Honolulu, so that's a new state for us, a new market. You're going to see a lot of new states coming online this year. A lot of states that we just haven't gone to, or they've been available to us. We haven't gone or haven't previously been available to us, and now they are. And it's really exciting. Every year David Feldman tells me we're going to do more shows. I don't think I'll rest until we get about 50 shows. And if we do 50, we'll do 52. My buddy Justin Roberts, who's the ring announcer for AEW,
Yep.
he does 52 shows a year. And I'm like, that sounds right. As much as my family is the most important thing in my life, I am built to get on planes and go talk about fighting for a living and being in the arena and commentating fights.
Isn't it the greatest thing ever, man? Like I get nervous going to some events and I'm like, why am I nervous? These are the guys that have to fight. I just have to fucking ask questions, take
Yep.
photos, take videos, right? But it truly is the greatest thing. How have commissions been state to state? Do they welcome this? Because I'm baffled by how many you guys have acquired when amateur MMA was just legalized in Manitoba and Ontario last year for the amateur MMA. You guys are getting bare knuckle. Talk to me about how commissions are allowing this and how you guys approach it. I know safety is paramount.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have unified rules.
Yeah.
We've done 145 events. Knucklemania 6 was our 145th event. We've done shows in 11 countries. So we're legal in, I believe, 32 states now. Some are coming on organically, and you're going to see that more. The game changer really for us was California,
Hmm.
because right after California, we got Mohegan Sun. Mohegan Sun is significant because that's Mike Mazzulli, who's the past president of the Association of Boxing Commissions and Combative Sports. Great guy, great friend. Mike and I have been friends 16 years now, and is a 3-time president of the ABC. People look and say, all right, well, if the president is doing it, we need to do that as well.
Wow.
And you look at, we have Texas. So of the 2 busiest states in terms of number of shows, or actually the 3 of the number of shows per year, we have all 3: California, Texas, Florida. And I think for most, not all, but for most states that BKFC isn't in, it's just because we haven't approached them.
Hmm.
There are just a lot of states that we just haven't seen a reason to go to, just based on our fighters, based on the cities they have, based on the venues. And these states are starting to open up organically for us, meaning it's no longer us going out and saying, will you please take us in? It's them calling up our offices and saying, hey, we allow bare knuckle fighting now. We would love to have you have a show. That I can't, because we're in discussions. I can't name the state, and I hate to be coy, and I'm sorry,
Oh, that's
but
okay.
that's
Yeah.
going on right now. Is that a state that we never even approached is now talking to us in active pursuit of bringing us to their state. So
Wow.
I do apologize. I will have to cut you short a little bit, but I am
No
happy
worries.
to be there anytime if you want to conclude it, and that's fine. But again, I apologize for cutting you a little
No,
short, but we
this
can certainly again. I just want to tell you, you're a dude. You're a great interviewer. You're a huge supporter of the sport. I really like the questions that you ask. So thank you. Happy to do this anytime.
Thank you, man. I feel like I could go another 2 hours. I try and keep it 40 minutes. I know time is valuable. Last two things on my end
Yeah.
here. You guys are like you guys did New York, yeah? The state of New York, was
So
that legal?
we're not legal. This is interesting. We're not legal in the state of New York, which is the New
Okay.
York State Athletic Commission. the commission that did not make pro MMA legal until 2016. We have, however, done two shows on tribal land at through the Seneca Indian Nations Casinos,
Okay.
which is an ABC member.
Yep.
So it's the gray area.
Yep.
Yes, we've done shows in New York. No, we haven't done them through the New York State Athletic Commission.
Hmm.
They were fully regulated, licensed, everything. They just were through a recognized tribal nation, which is
Yeah.
an ABC member and has a full athletic commission, the Seneca,
We
in
did
the
the same
state.
in the North for Muay Thai World Cup.
Yeah,
Exact same
absolutely.
thing. Yeah, yeah. They don't like it. Sometimes the other guys don't like it. But you do it anyway. And
Yeah.
the last thing, Nevada, that's like is that end goal kind of too, is getting Vegas? Or is that you guys are
It's not just Vegas. You know, Reno is such an attractive market, Lake Tahoe.
yeah.
I just think that there's the understanding that you need to be in Nevada.
Yeah.
I've had numerous discussions. I would love to be in Nevada. I will tell you this: when we go into Nevada, we will do it right. We took our time on California. When we went in, it was in Los Angeles, downtown LA, Knucklemania 4. I think for us just to go in and do a small show in Nevada doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of when, but a matter of if. And if you see us, or sorry, I said that the other way. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. There we go. When we go into Nevada, and I honestly don't know when that will be, but when they finally welcome us into their state, you're going to see a blowout of a show. You know, there are still a few states out there. Massachusetts would be a great state. But for the most part, if you look at who are the quote unquote major commissions in the US, Florida, Texas, California,
Yeah. NAC.
um,
Yeah. NAC.
right, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. That's who we have.
Amazing. I love it. Well, I won't keep you any longer, Sean. Thank you so much, dude. Keep killing it on the mic.
Thank you.
Being a ambassador basically for the other side of combat sports, for learning about it, doing the seminars and all that. I met Jack Reese in LA, great guy,
Yeah,
invited me down too. Really appreciate you and the time. Even this means a lot. So thank you so much, brother.
absolutely. No,
Yep.
and I'm serious. You ask great questions, and let's do this again. It's absolutely my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, man. I'll definitely see you guys in the next year or two down there in person. 100%. I'll have to come
Excellent.
down.
Stay in touch with me. Let's do this again.
Fucking rights. Thanks, Sean.
Thank
Cheers, brother.
you. Thank you.